You have to start taking the scraps. Some of you are waiting for this perfect invitation with a bow on top, with a couple commas in it, or an invitation from that person that is an influencer that you admire. And that's the moment you know you've made it. But I'm going to tell you, you've made it when you're picking up the scraps. You've made it when someone's saying, hey, last minute, shit has hit the fan and I need you to fill in for me. This has happened to me so many times. And in many ways, I am where I am today because I've taken the scraps when they're thrown at me and I've spun it into gold. And I've been there helping people out, saving the day, saving people's hide because other people flake and are canceling. Because of those two positions, not being afraid to pick up the scraps, the hand me downs, the leftovers, and getting on stages that other people don't want to get on, picking up the slack for people who have said, nah, I'm waiting for the prettier stage. Let this video and podcast be some humble pie for you. And hopefully, I can also inspire you to and encourage you to take those smaller stages. Work with the individuals who are not as polished or as famous as other people, because those moments are going to shape you in the most amazing ways. And they're going to prepare you, not only your voice, your presence, but your nervous system for the bigger and bigger stages and opportunities. Because boy, oh boy, are they coming. And they are going to come quickly after you've cut your teeth. So many experiences that I am having and living right now that are bringing me tremendous success all can be threaded back to this one moment about 3 years ago when I filled in for a friend of mine who could no longer speak on a panel. Not only did I show up to fill in for her, but I ended up being asked last minute to fill in for the keynote. Okay. The keynote texted and said she was sick. And so the event owners, knowing that I was already a great speaker because I had been running a successful yoga business, like my reputation walked into the room before I did. And I let it be known that I was an empowerment coach and a motivational speaker. I told them from my mouth that day, I said, I want all the speaking opportunities that I can get. They remembered that and they asked me to, in 5 minutes, get on stage and cover for the keynote. I wanted to say no, but I said yes because it was a soul aligned opportunity. And from those two fill ins, again, throw someone else's scraps, I can't come, or whatever the reason. Were they sick? Were they not sick? Who knows why people flake sometimes. But I said yes. I will always be the person that saves the day. It's a role that I love and it's a role that served me well because people remember the people who stepped in last minute. Maybe you even had a situation where recently you've needed someone to come in and save the day and they did. And now you feel like you're always in like a debt of gratitude to that person, right? That's who you get to be when you start thinking about being the flexible person who is humble and will work any event in any stage in any capacity. And when you let it be known what you do and who you are and what you want to accomplish, when you start vocalizing those things early in your entrepreneurial and leadership career, people will take notice. And I'm going to give you some tips today too on how to actually double down on that and to make sure it's absolutely 100%. Without a shadow of doubt, people are very clear on who you are and what you bring to the table. But I really want to emphasize, going back to my story, from those two fill-ins, right? From the scraps that were given to me, from being a last minute fill-in, I was invited to a stage to keynote the very next weekend. I was invited to co-host several other women's empowerment events. I was asked to be a online contributor to a digital magazine. I was invited on several podcasts, several other stages after that, partnerships, meeting other people that opened up other opportunities to now to the point where I have been teaching my programs at Fortune 100 companies and now hopefully coming up soon a Fortune 500 company and multiple stages beyond that. All of these opportunities and doorways have opened because I stepped in. where other people have stepped out. What you need to be able to do is number one, be in a position where you're speaking about who you are and what you do. Notice that in my story, I told you that I went up to the event owners, introduced myself, told them who I was filling in for, and then mentioned how I am an empowerment coach and motivational speaker, and that I want every opportunity to speak, and I'm so excited. Those words plant the seeds in people's understanding of who you are and what you do. Just being able to drop that information in under 30 seconds is so crucial because it's like you're leaving little breadcrumbs everywhere you go, and people will be like, oh, you need a PT coach? Oh, you need a relationship coach? I just met one the other day. Point number two, be an interesting person. People will be motivated to reach out to you and ask you to fill in if you make them feel something. This is a huge point people don't quite get. If you want those referrals, if you want people to think about you, if you want all the opportunities, because I know you're asking me, I get asked all the time, Kim, how do you get these speaking opportunities? It's because I'm an interesting person. But do you know how you become an interesting person? It's not by picking up a new hobby or getting a new tattoo or piercing or whatever. It's by being interested. Dale Carnegie once said, if you want to be an interesting person, you have to be an interested person. That means, well, what does it mean? You tell me. If you're watching this on YouTube, tell me in the comments below, what do you think that statement means? It's a really important one. In fact, so much of my success right now, the connections I'm making, the resources that are coming my way, the opportunities that are coming my way are because I have mastered this quote. So what do you think it means? If you want to be interesting, be interested. It means you have to start asking questions. It means that you need to start talking about the one thing that most people on the planet are obsessed with, themselves. So when you're networking and you're meeting someone new, instead of talking about yourself, I want you to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes asking them questions about them. Get them to talk, get them to open up. Ask them about their business. Where do you live? How long have you lived here for? What drew you to this profession? What's your favorite thing about your job? What's a challenge you have right now? Tell me about a recent client that just blew your mind. Get them talking about themselves, which is the number one topic everyone loves to talk about is themselves. So that puts you in good graces right there because you are the person who's getting them to talk about them. So they love you already. The second thing you're doing is you're listening and you're collecting data, you're collecting information about intrinsic values. And you're going to start to add this to your mind, your database. This person knows this, likes this, hates that. Does this align with me? Who do you think they're going to recommend more when it comes time to, hey, I need a speaker. Do you know anyone? The interesting person or the non-interesting person? The person that asked them questions or the person that was talking more about themselves? See, you know this too, because you've been in conversations with someone who's just talking about themselves and it's boring. They're not interesting. So the move here is to defer. Defer when you talk about yourself. In fact, don't talk about yourself at all. I challenge you. Just be interested in that person. And you know what else ends up happening that's kind of surprising? You fall in love with this person. You end up like learning a lot about the other person. You're like, man, this person's actually awesome. And now you've bonded on a very personal level too. And in just a 2 to 5 minute conversation, you've really come to know the human being standing in front of you. And I think this is where networking and this is where interpersonal relationships on a personal level even get leveled up on such a big way. So number 2, be an interesting person. Now, number 3 is just say yes. Say yes to the last minute request. Figure it out as you go. Just last night, I filled in for a speaker who flaked. Story of my life, apparently. Okay, but this was at SUNY Oswego, basically in my backyard. The date aligned, the time aligned, and I just said yes because I've learned to trust myself. And this is a key component of being the hero who can come in and spin gold out of yarn or whatever the analogy is you want to be someone who could trust themselves. And there's no better way to start to learn how to trust yourself than actually begin to say yes to the scary things that feel like you're unprepared. The more frequently you start saying yes to last minute engagements like this, and you go in and you crush it and you do a great job, the more you're going to build that resiliency and that self-trust and that knowing that you can figure things out on the fly. And that's an energy that leads before you do. The long-term payoff of all of this, guys, is resiliency. One of the reasons we get into entrepreneurship and leadership is because we know there's a part of us that can be great and can succeed. And we almost want to test our boundaries, right? You certainly don't get into entrepreneurship because you like things soft and easy. We get into entrepreneurship because we like a little bit of pain, apparently. We like the struggle because we know that pressure and that struggle is what builds us into who we are meant to be. Individuals who are strong and courageous and resilient and good at heart. I also want to encourage you to think long term on this. Those really small fill in gigs, the scraps, they led me to a place where I am pitching to Fortune 500 companies. It led me to places where I am getting paid thousands of dollars to teach to senior leadership at Fortune 100 companies. And I'm just getting started. And I still take the scraps. You just heard me say, even last night, last minute opportunities. Be the fill-in. Say yes. I hope I've convinced you here that by saying yes, by picking up those last minute requests, by picking up the scraps, by doing the things that other people would say I'm not ready for, that you will be so much further ahead in your career. We don't need the polished moments, and you don't need to be ready. That's a lie. But you do need to be resolved, not ready, but resolved, that you are the expert and that you can handle these moments. So get out there, be that fill in, start saying yes to those unexpected opportunities, and watch all the doors open. I'll see you in the next video.